aside from you've mentioned about sort of niche audiences, what are the other benefits for marketers and advertisers of this sort of connected social TV environment that we're going to be entering?
Well, I think the core is finding people that really care about your product. I mean, I'm not sure I understand the problem of niche audiences. I'm not sure well, that seems a bad thing. If the ROI is better and I can spread that, and overall I sell more products for spending less ad dollars, that's surely a good thing, except if I'm the media company, perhaps.
But I guess there's a mindset issue because people have always bought on large numbers. So.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see, and you're seeing this now more in the US than here, is the CEOs talking to the CMOs and saying, I want to see better proof.
Yeah.
And I would like to spend less if I can on advertising to get more sales, if you will, brand recognition through sales. And so I think the issue becomes very tightly on true performance, and not the fluffy proxy of performance, but true performance. And I think then you chase large audiences where it is appropriate, you chase niche where it's appropriate, but I don't think one is the kind of the ugly twin of the other.
Okay. I'd say interesting, if you go back to the traditional internet environment, the cost per click, et cetera, as a marketing director, you can do your cost per click, you can do your from click to sale, the average purchase, you can map that back. So there's beautiful diagnostics, a lot of accountability, but that accountability costs money, it comes at a premium. And historically, traditional display wasn't the most engaging mechanism, particularly for brand campaigns where you're looking for that emotive connection with customers. What you're now seeing is those same tools, that same accountability that exists, that we associate with the traditional display internet environment, is now moving to video, and it's now moving to the TV. So you can understand what the behavior of the individuals was. You might not be able to track it through to a sale, but you can see how many people did different things. You can, on our database, for example, we can actually say of all the people who purchased Sex and the City, the movie number 5 or whatever, 3 they're up to, how many of them were watching Gossip Girl versus this? Of those ones, how many also did this behavior? You can tie it back to suburbs and really start to bring the tools that you associate with that portion of your budget to apply to where the bulk of the budget has historically been spent, which is on video and on TV.
Yeah. Could
I just say something on the sort of mass audiences versus niche audiences, which is I don't really kind of mind whether we can sort of reach one mass audience or we have to sort of tie together 1,000 niche audiences until we've actually got the sort of right weight. I mean, one's easier than the others, but we haven't got a God-given right for our job to be easy. So, but I haven't really seen anything that tells me that because someone's in a niche audience or watching a program that not many other people are watching, that's a better environment for advertising. I haven't seen anything that tells me that actually has a greater impact than somebody watching a show that lots of other people are. So,
well, I don't know. I think you can take proxies from the. I mean, although the display ad world has been, again seen as the evil twin, you can see where ads that were presented in relevant context had a far higher click-through rate, like orders of magnitude more than the same ad to the wrong audience or a different ad to a different audience. So I think you have a clear model that says if you present ads truly in context with the audience, you're going to get much more engagement. If click-through is at least one proxy for engagement, and you see that also now with online video, you see that the right online video ad put in the right context of content, people watch it longer. They don't piss off somewhere else. I shouldn't have said that on the video. And they also tend to engage more. So it's early days, but clearly there is and that's worth money. Now you can argue, well, how much is it worth?
Well, I guess the first point you talked about, which was sort of that idea of click-through rate as being a success. I mean, I look at about 80% of the money that we invest for advertisers, or when I look at it, 80% of money, the click-through rate of that digital advertising is irrelevant. It doesn't represent either success or failure. There's a certain section of advertisers who are trying to directly sell stuff, and you can measure as you've talked about. But that 80%.
Explain to me the proxy then for free-to-air television, the ad. What's the proxy for measurement of success?
Well, you want to know that the right audience has watched your ad.
How do you actually know that?
Well, the television audience is measured by a panel.
So it's 3,035 boxes of 6.6 million homes.
So I'm not sure how many are on the sort of television panel, but you have...
No, that's the OzTam panel, 3035.
Yep.
Of 6.6 million homes, which you'd have to argue in a distributed content model is a, I'm a statistician by background. It's a pretty...
Should I argue with you?
It's a pretty poor...
If we're picking sides.
It's a pretty... No. If you in homogeneous data models, you can have small sample sizes. In data models which are far more spread, but it's harder to get, and you don't, and we'll see. In fact, we're seeing now, Similar Media, who in the US captures all the data from 30 million cable TV boxes, which is effectively like free-to-air watching in the US context. They've got a really interesting map now because there's 30 million boxes or 30 million ratings boxes. So, and that's done every minute. They're tracking it. So I think, and that's early days, but they will start to provide some really interesting information, which for the first time will let us see actual engagement and watching in a sort of cable TV, free-to-air TV versus other environments. But
I think what it highlights is intuitively we'd all agree that it sounds common sense that if you put an ad in front of an audience that's self-selected to have an interest in your product because you've targeted well and they're engaged and you provide the right creative, that you're going to get a good response. But the onus is back to the people selling the advertising to demonstrate that that's the case. And I think what you're highlighting is the anecdotal the statistical feedback from view, behavior to purchase is something that we need to provide greater proof evidence.
Yeah, because I think you've kind of you've talked about a sort of a perfect world digital model, and that's not the whole ecosystem, and I think that's the challenge that we have across any media channel is spending money driving a business success. And even when we talk about reaching people, that's still a proxy measure, as you're talking about.
And they're all imperfect. I think that constantly fascinates me is that we ask of the digital world for levels of perfection in data performance and measurement far less than we ask for in the free-to-air advertising world. That's really weird. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Other than there's a lot of money changing hands, which part I understand.
Extraordinary amounts of money. But I think that's right, and that's where it's heading. We're going to get to a point with when the NBN's kind of finally up and running kind of smoothly. We'll start to see the online metrics back applied to some of the more established media. And we talked about panels earlier, and MCN, or the subscription TV representation, is 1,200 homes on that panel. We've just invested in our own 10,000 home panel to start that journey. So when we get down to a truly IP-driven set-top box, the level of data and accountability will pass back to advertisers will be far greater than anything possible in a free-to-air world.